This is exactly how I would learn to sample if I were to start over. For context, I've been sampling for years now and studying many of the sampling grades. So if you have absolutely zero knowledge about sampling, this video is the perfect place for you to start. So here are 3 things I wish I knew when I made my first sample beat. Starting with goals and limits. Okay, so bear with me, because starting off, we need to talk about goals and limits instead of actual music. And don't worry, we will be talking about music as well, but this is way more important to start with. When you get into music, what you need to understand is that there is no simple quick fix. You need to be doing this long term. And the goals and limits framework is the perfect way for you to help do this. Okay, so basically, what do I even mean by goals and limits? Well, let's start with the goals. So for the goals, you need to set something so you actually have a way of tracking your progress. So you have a tangible thing that you can take a look at and be like, yeah, I improved this over time, right? So for example, the goals I would set for myself if I was starting over is I would literally set a simple goal to make 10 sampled beats in the first month of making music, right? And I'm not even talking good beats. I'm not even talking about finishing beats. I'm literally just talking, just find 10 samples and make 10 beats. And if you do that in the first month, that's already progress for you. And when it comes to limits, basically we need limits because there is so much complexity to music. Even if you look at the DAW right now, you can look around what's happening here. There's just so much stuff that it's so easy to get overwhelmed. So that's why we need limits. And if I wanted to learn sampling, the limits I would set for myself is, for example, to just find a sample, loop it, add drums, and a simple bass line. That's literally what I would start with for the first maybe month of making sampled beats. Okay, so quickly to recap, you need goals to know where you're going and have some tangible progress, and limits to not get overwhelmed and quit. Let's actually try to make some music now. So, okay, well, I think the mentality is a really important factor in your learning music. I still want to show you some practical lessons when it comes to making music. And today for this beat, I found this gospel sample called Oh, What a Day. And I just sampled this 4-bar loop. So again, going back to what we started with, our goals and our limits, I did say I would set a limit for myself that I'm going to take this part and I'm just going to loop it over and over again. So quickly, one more thing I did with this sample is I warped it to tempo so that basically our sample is on beat when we add drums later on. And I just pitched it up for semitones and sped it up a little bit. Next up, to add bass to it, I grabbed this bass from Ableton. And I added a very simple EQ that just cuts out the high end, so we only get the bass and mid frequencies from it. So as a pattern for this bass, I literally just followed the root notes of the sample. So later on in this video, we can also build chords on top of that. But for now, this isn't anything complex, so that's just gonna sound like this. Now you can hear that our sample and our bass start to clash a little bit. So I'm gonna try to remove some frequencies from the sample so we both give more space to the bass, and later on we got some more space for our drums. So what I did to achieve that is I added Cymatics Origin to cut off some of the high end, then an EQ to cut off some of the low end, which is just gonna give us the space for our bass line. So now when it comes to our drums, I sampled this song called Trump by the Otis and Carla band, and it basically sounds like this. And so I just grabbed it, chopped it up a bit so it fits a little bit better. Then I added analog clip to thicken our sounds up. Added this EQ to remove some of the high end because there was actually like this weird hissing sound in the recording. And I just added a little bit of sidechain compression to it because actually to thicken this whole loop up, I added this kick right here. So basically this sidechain is just gonna duck the volume of our drum loop when this kick comes in. Then I just grouped our drums and added a little bit of saturation to it and a little bit of compression to just bring out the colors of the drums. And so our second point is creativity versus rules. One thing about beginners is that they don't really know the rules of making music, and that results in them being really creative. What I mean by this is that they might ignore rules like that usually a kick should be on 1 and snare should be on 2 and 4. Right? They might do something completely different, which, don't get me wrong, is creative, right? But when you are a beginner, the problem is that you don't really have the skills to pull that off yet, to make your creative ideas sound good, right? So honestly, if you're just starting out, I would just focus on learning the rules of music making. So, as I already said, for example, you just place the kick on 1 and 3 and then the snare on 2 and 4, right? Now, this is going to kill your creativity. Don't get me wrong, it will do that. By learning the rules, it's going to be much easier for you to actually start making good beats. And then slowly, as you learn more and more about music and you have more and more experience, you can start loosening up the rules and start letting the creativity back in. Okay, so going back to our beat, I think I want to add some chords now. Okay, so for the chords, I chose these strings from Analog Lab. And so I just built these chords on top of our bass line, and they will sound like this. And then I actually wanted to go ahead and kind of double them. So I also chose this kind of like synth horn sound from Analog Lab. And to take a little bit of presence away from the low end in it, I cut off some of the low end and also a little bit of the high end here. And basically I just copied the chords, just putting them in a lower octave. So actually going back to our drums and to just add a little bit more nuance to it, I also grabbed this perk loop, which is also really nice for like a section B. And so with the chords it sounds like this. Now for our third point, we need to talk about the fact that you will never stop struggling. Okay, so I know this might be a little bit harsh and a little bit disappointing, and it might be a little bit of a letdown, but the truth of the matter is that with music, you always learn new things. No matter how long you've been doing it, you will always find new sounds, new tips and tricks, and you will always feel like making music is a struggle. So there is no magical fix for music. There is no one thing that you will learn. It's not gonna be like you're gonna learn how to add drums, you're gonna learn music theory, and all of a sudden you can make music. It doesn't work like that. You always just keep on learning when making music, and there is always just ups and downs in any music career. So even if you look at top artists, they still have something like a writer's block. So even people who've been making like music for decades, who have literally #1 songs in the country, they still from time to time have periods of time, like months or years on end, where they just struggle with making music. So I'm just saying this because a lot of people just beat themselves up if for a week they cannot make a good beat, right? But that's just the way it goes with music. Sometimes you will have months where every beat you make is gonna be literally a 10 out of 10 banger, and then sometimes you might have months when you can't make a single good beat, and that's just what it is with music. To be honest, you just have to keep on making it and never stop. Okay, so to finish this beat off, I actually grabbed one more synth and I used it to make a melody with it. So the melody is not all that complex, but it kind of fills in nicely some of the gaps in the beat, so it does its job. And if you want to learn how to sample, or you want my personal help, then check out Sample Academy. It's truly the #1 place for you to learn sampling. It's first link in the description, and we currently have a special discount for 10 first new members that join, so just check it out. And so that's pretty much everything for this beat. If we grab all of this and arrange the entire beat out, here's how it's going to sound.